All right, recap of the weekends. Definitely not what we wanted to do by any means. It's a challenging weekend in a lot of ways. I think one of the biggest things to take away from it, I had a conversation with one of our upperclassmen, seniors to be exact. You probably know who I'm talking about when I say it in a second. But after we lost to Northwestern State, I pull her aside, just ask how she's doing. She said, "Gee, I have all the faith in this team. This is the best team that I've been on in my 5 years that I've been here." And so, after our second match this weekend, the first two, we got outworked. We didn't play well, we didn't work hard, and it showed. And so she lit into the team pretty well and said, we can't keep having excuses. We had excuses when Sienna went down. We've had excuses for other things. And it's unacceptable at this point. We've played enough matches, we have to step up and make a change. And she told her team, she goes, "But I did tell G that this is the best team that I've played on since I've been here, and I have all the faith in us." And so it's true. We're 2-6 at this point. Our underclassmen, our setters, we've had experience. We've got to go back. We've got to learn. We've got to train, and we've just got to work with the hand that we're dealt and keep moving forward at this point. But Saturday or Sunday against Texas A&M, we show up, we play first set. Not great, might be a little nervous, but set two, we came out rolling. We played really well. We were making great decisions. And so, for us as a staff right now, 9 a.m. staff meeting this morning, hit the drawing board. There's a lot of stuff that we're looking at, some changes that we're looking to make, and really perfecting what we're good at right now because we're great in a lot of areas. And then trying to figure out where we can squeeze points as much as we can in areas that we are lacking.
In one of the earlier stretches of the season, you had said you had looked at your team, they were pissed. Mm-hmm. Leaving College Station, when you kind of did that kind of examination of that team as a group, what was kind of the mood and feeling of that group?
Yeah, I think after the first two matches, pretty much the exact same feeling. I told them, I'm tired of having the same conversations because I know that you guys don't want to hear it. I sound like a broken record. And they're saying the same things. And they're like, at this point, we're saying it, but we have to put it into action. They're aware, which is huge, just for girls at this age anyways, to be able to make that statement and own it. They know they have to put it into action, but then to see what they are capable of when we go up against these bigger and better teams, a light bulb goes on for them, and then they acknowledge that. And it's just finding that consistency and finding that drive in every single match that we're playing. But like I said, for us as a staff, we've gone back. We've looked very, very deep into stats and where we're good in every single rotation, where we struggle in every single rotation. So like I said, we're going to perfect what we're good at, and we are going to just squeeze points where we are struggling right now. And unfortunately for us right now, we are really, really good in a lot of areas and very inconsistent with our setting, which unfortunately we need our setters to run our offense. There's no way around that. But it's trying to figure out who is good with which setter and who is great with which setter and just moving pieces around that way.
So it's essentially kind of is it like a communication thing as far as the setting game is concerned, or or is it more like a personnel just making sure it's just finding the right person, or just how does that work, as far as that's concerned?
Right. So right now, setter decision making is a big deal. We were great defensively at the net, and if we're not blocking balls, we're picking up balls on the back row that are really good. But from there, our setter distribution, they're not making the best decisions right now. And against Texas A&M, it was better. We were holding blocks and we were making really good decisions to where we had hitters one-on-one. But then other times it's not as consistent. So for us, our setting game is where we are the most inconsistent. So like I said, we've gone back and looked to where we are scoring more points in each rotation and who is up and who is with which setter and who is more effective on which pen. And so we are going to change our lineup going into tomorrow against Southeastern. At this point for us, it's not going to hurt. Our job right now is to prepare us for conference and make sure that we're ready to go for that. So like our team said, we're in the development phase right now of our season, and we want to make sure that we are where we need to be going into conference.
You mentioned earlier, clearly not where you guys want to be record-wise at this point in the season, but you still have a long ways to go. You're just right in the thick of your season. How do you keep your girls motivated in terms of not getting down so negative on the result and telling them, like, yes, these are not the results that we want, but there are some things that we are doing good?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, every message after a match this year has still continued to be positive. The morale on this team, despite a 2-6 record, I think is really good. I think they are positive because they've seen the glimpses of how great we can be. Cammie Hicks, she's been the one that's been the most vocal over the weekend, and she said it after A&M. I asked them immediately, all right, how do we feel? She spoke up instantly and was like, there was glimpses of greatness throughout this match, so I know that we can do it. And so for me, the morale is still really good, which is where we want to be. We've talked about other teams in our conference. They schedule a tough preseason schedule. Some have gone to where they've been 0-10 going into conference and still won every match. Some have won 2 games in preseason and still rolled deep into the conference tournament. And so I think it's just keeping that in the forefront, knowing like we are working through some things. We are still developing, but we have, at this point, 3 more matches to go figure it out. So when we play Texas State in 2 weeks, like we know what we're doing.
To kind of piggyback off of that, what do you know this conference? You've been in it for quite a while. You know these teams, what their strengths are. What are you looking to build upon with your team to make sure that they're ready to go and take on this tough conference?
Yeah, so again, I think it's just perfecting what we're really good at and getting better with where we struggle. One of the things that is a struggle for us right now, which we know and it's not good, our hitters are more efficient off of our libero than they are our setters, which is not good. So I'm going to pull in hitters today and kind of see what they need in terms of their setters because they're not getting a consistent enough set. So we might need to go to a little bit higher of an offense just to see if that makes a difference. Switch up personnel to see if that makes a difference because one of our outsides, she's honestly more effective on the opposite this year than she has been on the out. So we're going to put her over there, see if that helps, and then have an upperclassman carry a heavier workload for us because I think that she's more capable of it. But then once we get into conference, we're diving way deeper into their stats to see where their biggest struggles are, so that we can squeeze more points out of those rotations too.
You talked about a bit of inconsistency with your team coming out of this road trip. What did you find, at least, I guess, as a positive that has been consistent with this group?
I think this just staying positive. It's easy to start to get down and just point fingers and blame and do all that. And I don't think that it's quite to that point yet. I think it's been easy for them to say, well, we don't have our setters anymore, and I've used that excuse. But like Cammie said, the excuses have to go because even without having Sienna this year, we've gone and played really well against Houston and beat them. We played, for the most part, really well against Houston. And so we know what we're capable of, but it's just finding what we are really good at and finding out the correct rotations and just putting that together.
How proud are you or how impressed have you been with the players who've had to step up and play roles that they haven't had to play before?
Right. I'm very proud of our senior class, our upperclassmen right now, because I don't think they had leaders in the past that they really had anybody to look up to and learn from. And they, from really the spring throughout the summer until now, they've done a phenomenal job of being a really good voice for this team. And just, an example as well. But then Danny Tax, her and I had a conversation this weekend going into day 2. And, her confidence has been down a little bit. And I told her, I said, I have talked to so many people that are outside of this program that have said how good you are doing. And I told her, I said, you need to go out there with a chip on your shoulder. Nobody else is stepping up at this point to play in this position. You were recruited by the last staff as a setter. We switched you to a DS, but you have stepped into a role and are setting for the first time as a collegiate setter. Like it is a hard role to take on. But continue to get the feedback and continue to just work because it's not always easy being the quarterback. Like, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, but I think her herself has done a really phenomenal job of just taking on that role. And then relying on freshmen. It's one thing to have freshmen step on the court immediately and be surrounded by upperclassmen. It's another to have 3, 4 freshmen, sophomores on the court that haven't had the experience all play together at the same time. So I am proud of them because they are starting to figure it out. And I think they will continue to, but they got to continue to learn and dive into our own film and watch a little bit more, continue to ask questions. But I mean, as a whole, I'm proud of this team for continuing to grow and to learn and to fight, and most of all, stay positive.
Speaking of freshmen, Jasmine's nearing 100 kills. Can you kind of talk about like the role that she's been playing, and also kind of going back to that last question, how kind of the seniors have kind of maybe helped her and kind of offered kind of mentoring help for her as she gets playing time.
Yeah. So Jazz, unfortunately, as a freshman, she has been our go-to. She is one that is probably carried the heaviest load so far, but she is one that she is still trying to figure things out, and she's actually hitting better on the opposite for us right now. She's hitting like a 400 versus 100 and whatever it is on the out. So I think for her physically and mentally, just still learning and growing, it's going to be better for her to be on the court 3 rotations, see how she does there, and put Kaylin Demps on the out. She's older, she's more mature, she can handle the workload. But I would say from a leadership standpoint for our upperclassmen, Lauren Hill has been a phenomenal leader for her. We joke all the time. They are a spitting image of each other. They move the same. They play the same. And we told Lauren that whenever we recruited her and she came up to us during camp, Lauren did, and she was like, you guys weren't lying. Like, I see myself, my freshman self, as her. And so she's been a really good voice and a leader for her. They communicate a lot. She gives her a lot of feedback, and you'll see it throughout matches. But I think Lauren, she's been a very sound voice for us on the court all season long, and she's one that we need on the court at all times because she is a phenomenal leader for this team.